All right. Candace Owens interviewed one of the survivors of the, can you hear me? Of the USS Liberty a few days ago. Late to the party, apologize. And before I actually watched the interview, so I watched the interview last night. Before I actually watched the interview, I watched a response to by Luke Hilton of the Israeli guys. And I just had to go watch the video because he said it was a very anti-Semitic interview and that she left out very critical details. And I've, for a long time, been well aware of the USS Liberty event with the Israeli fighter jets, Air Force fighter jets. And this took place right in the middle of the Six-Day War in 1967. One thing, when I watched the interview with the survivor, excuse me, he said that they wanted to sink the USS Liberty and blame it on Egypt to try to draw the United States into the war against Egypt. That may be true. He was on the ship. I wasn't. But just because he was on the ship doesn't mean that he knows why this happened. He definitely would know that it happened. So real quick, addressing the very anti-Semitic interview. He at one point said that God's chosen people were trying to kill us. I suppose that could be what he's talking about, interpreting that as anti-Semitic. But this guy, Luke Hilton, do you not believe that the Jews in Israel are God's chosen people? I get the impression that you do. And they were trying to kill them. Whether or not they knew they were Americans or Egyptians, that could be said. I mean, they were trying to kill them, and you do believe that they're God's chosen people. So, or let me comment on, to criticize Israel and or to try to hold Israel accountable, in my book, is not anti-Semitic. So now he says that this interview left out key elements as to what happened, and that it was very misleading, essentially. I don't remember exactly what he said, in what words he said it, but so, in all fairness, Luke Hilton says that there are recordings of the pilots, the Israeli pilots, talking about it being an Egyptian ship. So, Candace Owens had the actual survivor on her show. Can you play me the audio of the Israeli pilots talking about them thinking that this was an Egyptian ship? Or can you only say on your show that these tapes or this audio exists? So, I mean, if you can't provide the audio of the Israeli pilots talking about how they think it's an Egyptian ship, then, it's rather worthless, isn't it? He also mentions that they thought that it was an Egyptian ship that they knew to be in the area. So, if they knew this Egyptian to be in the area, how did they think this fucking ship was it? Does that not make sense? So, I can't tell you exactly what happened that day. Is it possible that they mistaken it for an Egyptian ship? Well, yeah, it's possible. I don't think that the evidence points towards that. I think that Israel is definitely capable of false flags, and in fact, they have been caught on more than one occasion doing this. Avi Shlem talks about the bombings in 1950 in Iraq to stimulate immigration of Iraqi Jews to Israel. Personal accounts and documented account in a police report of the man that was accused, tried, convicted, and sentenced to death and killed from what I understand in a confession, saying that he, as a member of the Zionist underground in Iraq, worked with a Mossad agent. His handler was a Mossad agent. Or the 1954 Lavon affair in Egypt, when Britain was pulling out, giving back its sovereignty to Egypt, handing over the control of the Suez Canal to Egypt, which was not good for Israel. Israel wanted to try to influence, Britain, influence is a nice word, wanted to intervene and give Britain a reason not to pull out and to not give control of Suez back to Egypt. And so another series of bombs. The Mossad worked with Egyptian Jews to bomb post office, train station. I don't remember all the targets, but areas where they were hoping that were frequented by American and British foreigners, hoping to kill an American and British foreigner and or foreigners to convince or to influence Britain to maintain their presence in Egypt. So the idea that Israel is not capable of this, I think, is ridiculous. And to think that Israel is capable of this, and or to think that the attack on the USS Liberty was intentional, is not anti-Semitic. Remember that Zionism is not unanimously agreed upon, or the current movement of Zionism, the current state of Israel is not unanimously agreed upon by the Jews of the world. There are plenty of Jews in the world that do not believe this current Zionism should be happening. I say current because I think that in the Jewish faith, they do believe that the Jews will immigrate back to Israel, but from what I understand, that is when they believe the Messiah comes, and that if they are doing it now, before they believe the Messiah has come, then it is, I don't know, you might say blasphemy, I don't know, but that it is not legitimate. So if somebody else understands that better than I am, comment, teach me, educate me. But I do know that not all Jews in the world believe that they should be immigrating to the current Israel, state of Israel, country of Israel. And in fact, Israel is responsible for more anti-Semitism than anything in the world. And this is from the mouths, this comes from the mouths of Jews that I've listened to say this. So I'm not anti-Semitic, and I'm not anti-Semitic particularly because of what I'm saying here, or because I believe this. So anyway, Luke Hilton doesn't give much evidence, in my opinion. Could somebody watch the interview with Candace Owens and this survivor and think that it was anti-Semitic? I suppose. That's not my place to say. I have my own opinions. But they talk about Lyndon Baines Johnson. Lyndon Baines Johnson, when Robert McNamara, as Secretary of Defense, they found out about this, they had dispatched help for the USS Liberty, which wasn't supposed to be there. It was a spy ship. half the crew on there didn't even know that CIA, NSA were on the ship. That's the nature of a clandestine spy ship. They dispatched help, and Lyndon Baines Johnson, when he found out about the help dispatched and or that it was Israel attacking them, called them back, and they quote Johnson as saying, I don't care if these U.S. Navy men die, I won't embarrass Israel or something like that. Not, it's not the actual quote, but that's basically what was said. I do want to say, too, though, that this survivor says that he believes that the intention of this attack was to sink the USS Liberty, blame it on Egypt, drawing the United States into the conflict. That may be true. But also, just because he was a survivor, this doesn't mean that he knows why they did it. I remember hearing in a documentary years ago excuse me, years ago, that the reason that the Israeli fighter jets were trying to sink and or were given the orders to sink this spy ship, which its intention was to intercept comms, communications in the area, but that the reason that they were trying to sink the ship was because they had intercepted some sensitive material that the Israeli government didn't want the United States to have. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was information that had talked about, that implicated Israel in war crimes against Egypt, and they didn't want this information out. I don't know. I wasn't there. This is just, getting more information out there. You guys do your homework and decide. But, Luke Hilton with the Israeli guys has every right to free speech, the same right to free speech that I do. I think they're located in Israel, so as long as they're talking pro-Israel, they have the right to say whatever they want. But I just wanted to shout out for them. I just wanted to help them. They have an organization. I forget. You can go to his channel. I'm sure he would tell you. But they have an organization where they go out and they help plant gardens and plant food in Israel. So if you want to help them, once the IDF goes in and steals the land from Palestinians, you can help them by making a donation to plant land or plant food on that stolen land. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know that you can get all the information you need on their channel, the Israeli guys, is how to be able to help and contribute to replanting the land that's stolen from Palestinians. So until next time.